Well, good morning, and we're back. Welcome back to Old Fiddles, New Life. We're talking about another violin this morning. This is a really nice old instrument. There was no tag in it. There was no ticket to say where it was made or anything. But having played it a lot and knowing a little bit about the instrument from looking at it, I would say that this is probably another German Strad, but really nicely made. Just go right in here. The bee sting purflings are just almost perfect. Really nice. It shows some wear, but it's been really well cared for, except for when it got in the custody of a school system. This is by no means what you would call a student instrument. It did get into a school system, and I repaired it once when one of the students broke the neck out of it, which just appalled me. And then it was out there and being played again, and then it came back again, and they did it. I don't know who this student was, but I mean, they were just torture on this thing. And we were about ready to move, and they owed me more for repairs than you can believe. So I kept the instrument when we moved, and I just kept it all these years. I don't consider it to be the school's anymore because of how much they owe me for this instrument. But here's the deal. It is perfectly, completely repaired. It's not going to ever, well, I wouldn't say ever because you never know, 100 years in the future. But anyway, it's really in great shape now. This is just an exceptional violin. I want to show you something a little bit over in the back. And, it shows typical wear, but in great shape. There's nothing wrong with this instrument by any means. Look at this. And here's a real teller right here. They pinned the top and the bottom of the instrument, the back, when they were getting ready to put the tail block and head block in place. They pinned those, and that is so cool. You rarely see that on an instrument, but they just did a great job on this. Here's another telling sign. Look at this scroll. Okay, I hope you can see this right here. Can you see that? Let's turn it a little bit on the side. Can you see that? The edges of the fluting are completely, well, not completely, but very, very worn down from being in and out of the case hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times over the years. I love that. That is the kind of wear you expect to see on an old violin that's been pretty well cared for. In other words, it's been kept in its case, in and out of the case all the time. Anyway, really, really nice old instrument. And it's got my own repair tag on the inside of it, Repairs and Restoration by Randall M. Gardner, Trumbull, Connecticut. It was probably, oh my goodness, it was several years after just getting this instrument because the neck was broken out of it, and I just kept it in the case for a long time. But finally, when we had moved to Trumbull, Connecticut, I went ahead and made the repairs on this, and just a really great instrument. Great instrument. So, okay, what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and play it, and as a matter of comparison, we're going to go ahead and play this on the same song we did on the old German Strad. It will be interesting to see. In comparing the two instruments, the old German Strad has a more open voice to it. In other words, it's more powerful. It's got a lot of dynamic to it. This does not. It does not have that same power to it, but it has a sweetness to it, and it's got a really nice sound. And it'll be interesting to see how this all comes out because, like I said, we're gonna do the two playings, this instrument and the German Strad. I may put them side by side in this video, as a matter of fact, so because we're not going to have to do a whole lot of looking at this instrument. Like I said, you got a really nice spruce top, really nice, good, straight grain, fine grain spruce. Here, you can see it better over here. There you go. Really nice top, really nice. over on the back, got some really nice curly maple, well joined. No, this one's not coming apart the way that old 1711 is that I'm working on. Ribs, they're more plain, but it doesn't, you know what? You don't spend your time looking at the ribs. But I mean, this is a solid instrument. Like after I did the repair, I had to take the top right off in order to do the neck repair on this one. And anyway, great shape. Let me go ahead and I'm going to shut this off and we're going to play it. All right, guys, it's time for fiddle forensics. What we're going to do, we're going to talk about this violin in one more little detail. A while ago, I mentioned the age of this instrument, that it probably is a little bit old, and I mentioned the scroll back here being worn off and everything. Well, I got news for you. I did a little careful search, a little careful looking at things, and do you see this right here? It's right there. Okay, see that right there? Actually, right there you can see it beautifully. That theoretically is a neck and skull graft. In other words, back in the 18 going into the 1900s, what happened was violins, all the newer violins were, all the older violins were being refit with longer necks that not only changed the length of the neck, but also changed the pitch in order to have the height of the end of the fingerboard above the surface of the violin at the right height. And so they would change the neck, but they always kept this part right here, the scroll, and what's called the peg box. That's the peg box, and the scroll always stays with the body of the instrument, right? And supposedly this is a graft. It is not a graft. This is fake. And it's, by the way, taking nothing away from the construction of the instrument. The instrument is fantastic. I mean, it is beautifully built, excellent materials, beautiful sound. There's nothing wrong with it. But this is fake. You see that right there? That supposedly is a cut where the neck, a new neck, had the old scroll. Oh, you dropped it there. Had the old scroll grafted into it, except for one thing. That cut doesn't go all the way through, and all that is a scratched-in line. It made it look very real. And over on this side, you can see it even more. Let's see if I can get over here. I don't know. Let's see if I can focus. Now, if you look carefully, you can see the grain going right on through. The same grain that is on one side of that scratch is the same grain that's on the other side of the scratch. In other words, there is no graft there. There we go. Now you can see it. There is no graft there. That is entirely to make it look like a graft. And this was a common practice back in the day. You know, and they put a little dark ink in there. Matter of fact, you see a little blob of it right there to make it look like a real graft. It is not a graft at all. This is the same scroll that was with the neck and the violin right from the very beginning. It's impressive. I mean, it sure faked me out for a long time, but when I got to looking at it more closely, it's called fiddle forensics. Hello, you got to really look carefully. Here we go. Let's see. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, there you see it. See where the grain goes all the way through? Okay, that's one thing. Well, if they're doing that to impress you that this scroll was really old and had to be grafted onto a new neck, guess what else they would have done? They would have probably just taken it and flattened that off. A little sandpaper, a little smoothing, and all of it fits. It all makes it look like it's one. You know, this is an old scroll that's been around for a lot of years that got grafted onto a new neck, and it's not. Now, look, the crazy part of this is, I'm saying all this, and you would think that would take away from the value of the instrument. All I can tell you is it's very likely is a German Strad. The quality of the materials in this instrument is superb. I mean, the grain of that top is just awesome, just fantastic. The purflings are very nicely done. Got a couple of tiny cracks right there, but those are non-structural. I mean, they're so close to the edge of the instrument that it's not going to hurt anything. Anyway, I just thought it was kind of a really good example of fiddle forensics to come back and take a look at things and realize, you know, it's not always exactly what you think it is at first glance, and you got to really look carefully. That, like I said, I still love this instrument, and I think the tone of it in some ways is superior to the German Strad. But all right, guys, hey, I was kind of backtracking on myself. I was talking about the back of the scroll looks so like it's been in and out of a case. Well, no, I tell you what, after looking at things again, I think that probably that was done deliberately to match up with the idea that the peg box and scroll were grafted on, and they were not. So, all right, hey, have a good one. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Old Fiddle's New Life, and we'll catch you on the next time.